Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be doing a makeover on my mama. So here is the picture that she showed me. I told her to just pull up a picture and we're gonna roll with it. So first I start with the Lightful Sea softening lotion and I just spray that all over, and then I take the Glam Glow Sun Glow and I pop that on all over the skin. This will help kind of moisturize her skin, and I also really like it because it adds a glow and adds a little bit of a tan to her. Next up, I'm going to be working on her brows. As you can see, her brows are really sparse, so these take a little bit of time, and so I just work on filling those in. I like getting the shape down that I want, and I'm just using a brow powder for this. This is what I find is the easiest on her. So I underline her natural brow and I brought it forward a little bit more to give her a little bit of an extra brow up there. And then I will go above her brow just to help shape the brow even more and make them a little bit thicker for her. And then I draw in that tail as well. And then I like to make sure I'm going upwards at the front, just like a natural brow hair would. Next up, I'm going in with the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. I use this to prime the eyes, and I also use this to carve out the underneath of that brow. And I'm using this on a MAC 252 brush. Now I'm going to go in with the Jeffree Star Blood Sugar palette. I'm using the shade Glucose underneath her brow bone to help highlight the brow. And I try not to use too much of this just since it is a stark white shade. I just like it to highlight the brow. And it mixes with the concealer really well and makes a nice, like, natural color. Next up, I am just taking a transition shade and popping that in the crease just to help everything that I put on after this blend out a little easier. Next up, I'm going back into my Blood Sugar palette and I am taking the shade Ouch. This is on a MAC 217. And you can see I'm really trying to like press that on first. I'm not blending yet. So I just press that on just to get as much pigmentation as I can. And then I will start blending and buffing that out. And I do blend this into the crease a little bit as well. So you can see now that I have it placed, I'm starting to blend a little bit. This blended out on its own pretty much actually. So I'm just doing a little extra blending, making sure it gets evenly dispersed throughout the crease as well. And then I'm picking up a little bit more of that color, and then again I'm just going back over what I did just to help intensify the color a little bit. And just taking my time and blending, making sure that this first step is really well blended out. Then next up, I will take the Jeffree Star Androgyny palette, and I'm grabbing the shade Dominatrix. And I'm grabbing this on a little bit of a smaller brush just so I can be a little bit more precise. And again, same thing, just kind of making sure to get that product right on that outer corner first before I start blending. I just use back and forth motions to deposit it instead of the pat motion on this one. This is just what I found works the easiest for me because it already starts kind of blending out that product for you, so it creates a little bit less work. And then making sure to blend that onto the lid a little bit just to make sure we don't have a line there. And then going back in with our original blending brush and just going between the two until I get the seamless blend that I want. And again, back in with some of that Ouch shade from the Blood Sugar palette. Next up, I'll take the Jaclyn Hill palette, and I am grabbing the shade Soda Pop. This is just a really deep, rich brown, so I really love this to help deepen even more. The Dominatrix didn't get it as dark as I wanted. And then same concept here, a little bit at a time and just making sure to really blend it out well. Now I'm going to take the shade Frosting from the Androgyny palette, and I'm going to use some Fix Plus and get this a little bit damp just to help it be a little bit more intense. So I just pat that all over the lid. You can see I'm back to that more patting motion just to really deposit that color and not move it too much. And then back in with that blending brush just to help blend out that little bit of the line that we created there. And then I will go back in with my original blending brush and just make sure that there's no lines in the crease as well. Next up, I'm taking one of the Stila Glitter and Glow, I believe is what they name these now. And I don't remember which shade, so I'll make sure to leave it in the description box below. But I just take a little bit of this on a flat shader brush and just pat this on. This just helps give it a little bit more sparkle and a little bit more glam. These are my favorite products. I love all of them. Okay, so now I'm taking the MAC Brush Black. This is really, really nice because it's a brush tip, so it doesn't get clogged up like a felt tip can. And I'm just trying to keep this as close to her lash line as possible. You can see I'm pulling up on her eye a little bit just to make sure that the line is nice and crisp. And I like to really take my time and perfect this and make sure that the line is as smooth and even as I can make it. Next up, I'm going to take the MAC False Lash Maximizer. There we go. I just like applying this first. She has pretty sparse lashes, so this really helps thicken them, and it also really helps lengthen them as well. Decided I'd leave that in there. And then now I'm taking the Note Cosmetics. I believe this one is the Lash Master. Again, I'll link it below. But this worked really, really well on her lashes, actually. So now I'm taking the Dior Forever foundation, and she had never worn this before, so I was really excited to put this on her as she's having a little dance party. Oh, Care Bear. Anyway, So I like to apply this with a flat brush first, just to kind of deposit it on there, and then I will blend it out with my beauty blender. I don't like just dipping in with my beauty blender and then going straight onto the face. That's a personal preference. I just don't personally like that. It kind of freaks me out. So I just apply it with a brush first and then blend it out. And this is just one of the Real Technique sponges because my dog ate my Morphe sponge. I also like this because I feel like I can be a little bit more precise if I use the brush first. Good on her. It blurred all of her pores. She doesn't really have very many, but it helped blur them. It helped make her skin look more even all over. It looked very, very nice on her skin. I really like this foundation. I was a little nervous when I was going to do the color at first, but it ended up working out really well and looking good on her. Then I just make sure to drag down the neck a little bit, just in case there was a little bit of a line, I can at least have it blended out. And then she does have a nose ring, so those get kind of tricky to work around sometimes on the other side there, but just worked around it a little bit. I think oh, there we are. It's like maybe I just went over it this time. Yeah, I totally did. So this does take a little bit of extra time, but I really like the end result, and I like that I can control how much product there is, as opposed to if I just dip my sponge in. And then I'll go in with my favorite Tarte Shape Tape Concealer, as we all know by now. And I pop that underneath her eyes. I'll do it on her... I'll do it down the bridge of her nose, on her cupid's bow, on her chin, and a little bit on her forehead as well. And then I like to blend out the chin, cupid's bow, nose, and forehead first, because the longer that you let that concealer sit, the better coverage that you get out of it. So I like to do the eyes last to get the most coverage on that under eye area. Then I will just blend out her under eye. I really like using sponges on people's under eyes just because it's more comfortable for them as opposed to a brush going at them. And then I will have her stay looking up, and then I grab my Too Faced Born This Way powder, and on my damp sponge I just pop that on her under eyes. I make sure that she stays looking up and that all the creases are blended out. She doesn't listen very well, clearly. But so I just pop that on there, and then I let that sit for a little while. I don't really time it or anything, just whenever. And then I grab Marc Jacobs bronzer. I believe that one is in Tantastic. Again, I'll link it below. And so I pop that on her temple area, a little bit towards the center of her hairline, underneath her cheekbones, and then I connect those right there. So I like to place it first, then I blend it even more. And then I will take a little bit underneath her lip just to make her lips appear bigger, and then I'll go down the sides of her nose. I don't necessarily do that to contour per se, I just like doing that to help bring all the color throughout the entire face. And then I will grab some blush. I believe this is the blush in Serene from Younique. I believe. I really like that one because it has a little bit of like a rose gold tint to it, so it helps make her a little bit more glowy. And then I will use Estee Lauder Heat Wave as her highlight, I've already set her, so I've used some setting spray on her. I use the Morphe Set and Refresh, and then I do the Cupid's bow, the very, very tip of the nose, and on the bridge. I don't connect those all the way. And then I do right at her eyebrow arch. Then I did a tiny bit on her chin, and then we will highlight her cheeks. I like to make sure that they're set first, because then the highlight pops even more. So for her lip, I mixed together 2 lip colors. I believe it was Jeffree Star. It was either Gemini or Leo, and then with Mannequin to lighten it a little bit. I'll link them below. Okay, so my pet peeve is when people stare at me when I do their makeup. So Care Bear thought she'd be hilarious and stare at me when I do her lips. Which I clearly didn't notice it when I was on her lower lip, but I definitely notice it here. Now she has to try to compose herself again, because again, she thinks she's hilarious, as we can all see. So now I'm adding just a little bit more blush, because once I got her lip on, her blush kind of got washed out a little bit. So I like to just add on a little bit more blush if needed. And now I let her look. And then we'll get some close-up shots. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't, make sure to subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up if you haven't. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Thanks, guys.